Okay, amazing to have you here once again, guys. Today we are looking at the concept of serialization and deserialization. While we're looking at this, it's very important that we are able to convert from data from one form to another in the programming languages. So the concept of serialization basically is very simple to understand, but before we proceed, I urge you kindly like and subscribe to the channel. We have great content here that we keep you going in your programming journey. So what is serialization? Basically, the concept of serialization is just a process of converting a Python dictionary object to a portable JSON format. What do we mean by that? Basically, JSON simply stands for JavaScript Object Notation. So we want to when we store data, basically we store it in a format that can be accessed or that is portable or that can be used by other programming languages. So if you have a Python object file or a Python dictionary object, then it cannot be used by other languages such as Java, C, and other programming language basically. So for other programming language to be able to access or use that data, you have to convert it to a form that is compatible with such languages. So basically, that is the process of serialization. So when you convert that data to a form, to a portable JSON format that can be accessed, then you are doing serialization, basically. So for serialization, there are basically two functions that help. You have the dumps and the dump. I'll talk about that later on in the video. And again, there's the second concept, which is the concept of deserialization. But before we look at this quickly, we are going to be doing this in our Jupyter notebook. So after a while, we jump back here to write out the code. We are going to jump back to write the code here on Jupyter notebook. So let me just quickly explain the concept. Again, the second concept here is deserialization. We made mention that we convert a Python object into a portable JSON format using functions such as dumps and dump. That's the process of serialization. But when you want to reconvert that JSON string back to a Python object file, then that process is called deserialization. So when you are reconverting the serialized file, which is the JSON string back to Python object, then you are doing deserialization. You use two functions, the loads and the load function. Let me just say something before I proceed. There are two modules, or basically more than two. There are more, but basically two are very common that are used in the process of serialization and of course deserialization. That is the JSON module. I explained what JSON stands for earlier, JavaScript Object Notation, the JSON module, and the pickle module. So in this video we're going to be using JSON module to carry out to perform this serialization and deserialization. So basically this is what deserialization is. I will kind of explain further. I have for you this. So I wrote this out in a diagram to illustrate what I've talked about. So you can see this is a Python dictionary object. When you try to convert it to a JSON string, so that process is called serialization, and these are the two functions that help you perform serialization. So you have a JSON string here, so you want to convert it back to this Python dictionary object, which is called deserialization, and you have the loads and the load function, which help you do that. Like I said, I will explain. I'll talk more about these functions, this dumps and dump and load function later in the video. So before we do any other thing, let's jump into our code blocks. Let me expand this so that we can, it will not seem that we are just talking, we are not writing the code. So let's write a code to show what we are saying. It's just basically a simple program that displays student info. So I'll just say student equal, or like a string. So I'll do student. I'll have just some basic information about the student. I'll have the name, and I'll call that, let's say the name is Paul. So I'll put a comma because I'll have to continue the string. So then I'll do age. Let's say Paul is 27 years old. You can see there's a difference between this. This is a string, but for age, here the variable is what? Is an integer. So that is why this is not in a quote, if you want to know why we didn't put a quote there. So the next one, just do let's say the fee, then let's say $10,000. I put a comma, then I have another, let's say is tall. Of course, you should know that this is a boolean. So tall, that's true. Then let's have another, just one more. Because Paul owned car, then I'll go ahead to Paul own a car, then I'll put none. It doesn't own a car. So of course this last one doesn't have to take the comma, okay, just like that. So yeah, then I'll come back here, I'll do this. So this is just a basic student information, okay, or attribute of this student. So basically we want to serialize this Python dictionary object to a JSON string or a JSON format. So I'll create a variable called JSON string, and I'll do JSON.dumps. First I will explain this, then I'll pass this student class to that. Then I'll go ahead, the student object I'll pass to that. So I'll go ahead and print, what am I printing? I want to print the JSON string, which is this JSON string, a variable which I created. So JSON string, print JSON string. So of course, is this all correct? No, we are forgetting something. We have to import the JSON module. Like I said earlier, you need to import a module, and this time we are using JSON module. So basically, what is a module? If you want to ask, what is a module? A module is more like a pre-written code that you can use in another file. So there are some code that are pre-written, they are inbuilt into the language, the Python language. So JSON is one of them. So it's more like a library, all right? When you need it, you import it and you use it in your file or in your program. Others are user-defined. They are written by the users and can be referenced in other files. Some are built into the system, into the language. So JSON is one of them. You remember I mentioned Pico the other time is also a module. So that is basically what a module is. So we import this JSON module. So we want to serialize this data into a form that can be accessed by, let's say, Java, C, and basically other programming language. And so what this dump is doing is the function that helps us to serialize this data. So dumps basically is different from dump, D-O-M-P, like I said earlier, because sorry, I will explain the concept earlier. So dumps is different. So for this, when we are converting to from a Python dictionary object to a JSON string, we use dumps. But when we want to convert from a Python dictionary object to a file, we want to convert that JSON string to a file, then we use dump. So I will explain this better. So just put that in one hand. Let's just first run this file to see what we have. So if we have this, if I do shift enter, I run. So as you can see, it's going to successfully run this program and it's going to print out this. So you can see it's going to output this. So for what we have here, basically what we have here, I want you to take note that this is now a JSON string. This is now a JSON string and can be used by, it's no longer specific to Python, it can be used by other languages. So I want you to spot some differences here. I want you to look at it and spot some differences. If you see what we have here, this attribute tall is a cap, but this in converting this is going to change to true to the lowercase letter t, as you can see. And if you look at this, we have this attribute on car, which is null. So none, but here is going to change to what? Null. So that's basically the little differences I want you to take note while converting from a dictionary object, a Python dictionary object, into a JSON string, basically. So basically that is that. So having done this, we could go ahead to basically deserialize this same data back to the Python object, the Python dictionary object. Okay, but before we do that, let me explain the concept of dumps and dump, load and load, which are the function that helps in serialization and deserialization. Okay, like we said earlier, dumps is a function. Dumps and dump are functions that are used in serialization process. So dumps help serialize Python object to a JSON string, as you can see. So serialize Python object to a JSON string. This is the one we used earlier while we were serializing that data. Then we have the other one, which is the dump, which convert. This is different from dumps because for this it converts a Python object to a JSON and write that JSON data to a JSON file. So it's serializing to a file. That's the difference. It writes it to a file. So that's how that is different between dumps and dump. So this will write whatever you are giving it, it will write it to a file. So then we have the other ones, loads and load. For this, it's used in the deserialization, basically. And what it does, it's going to convert a JSON string to a Python dictionary object, like the reverse of the serialization. So, and you have the last one, which is load. It reads JSON from a file and convert to a Python dictionary object. So anytime we are talking about file, then we have load for deserialization and dump for serialization. Anytime we are converting from a JSON, from a Python dictionary object to a JC string, then we talk about dumps and we talk about loads. So take note of this. So let's jump back and complete our the program. So we have this, we have succeeded in serializing this data to what? To a JSON string. So what we want to do now, we want to deserialize the data back to the original form we have here. So let's do that. So what I'll do, we put this file here. Sorry. Just put this file and I'll paste it here just like this. I'll paste it here. So again, it's going to be a string. So I'll put this quote because it's going to be a string. So I'll use this single quote. So then I want to use my student this time as the all right, my student, just like that. Then sorry, I don't need this. Okay. All right, my student. Take note, we are deserializing this data. So I'll do dictionary object. That's what we want to convert it to. This JSON file. This is already a JSON file. So I'll do JSON dot load, like we explained earlier. Loads help reconvert from a Python dictionary, a JSON file to a Python object. So my student. All right, so I'll go ahead to print what? Print dictionary object, which is what we are converting to. All right, is it complete? Not yet, because we have not imported JSON. So I'll come here, I'll do import JSON, just like so. I'll have this. So we are using loads. Take note. Then yeah. So if everything is nicely written, so I'll go ahead to run it. Shift enter. Of course, it's going to run. So look at what we have here. It's going to convert this back to the form it was earlier. So if you look at what we have here and check what we have now, you discover that they are the same, exactly the same thing. So if you look at it, true will return back to uppercase true, then onka none, exactly what we have here, and every other information are the same. So this is the process of deserialization, just like we have. This is it. Serialization for this process, then we went back to deserialize this data back to what? To the Python object, just like this. So thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe. I'll see you in the next one.